October 17, 1944. Dawn breaks cold and merciless over Kempton Park, 8 miles west of London. The transport lorry shudders to a halt on wet gravel, its engine dying with a mechanical cough that echoes across empty fields. Inside, 32 men sit in darkness, zip-tied wrists aching, lungs thick with diesel fumes and the stench of fear. Feldwebel, Hans M. Luhr, presses his forehead against the metal wall, 23 years old. 3 days since capture, a lifetime since hope. The doors swing open. British voices clipped and efficient bark orders in a language that sounds like gravel scraping bone. This is it, the moment every warning predicted. The propaganda films weren't subtle. Allied captivity meant systematic destruction. Starvation cells, beatings that lasted until you stopped screaming. Forced marches through winter mud until your heart gave out or your legs did, whichever came first. The Geneva Convention, a fairy tale for newsreels, something the civilized world pretended to believe while prisoners rotted in ditches. Muller's commanding officer said it during the final briefing, voice steady, even as artillery shook dust from the ceiling. Better to take a bullet than surrender to the English. They'll break you slowly. They'll make you wish you died in the field. Muller steps down from the lorry, legs stiff. Vision blurred from exhaustion. He expects dogs, he expects batons, he expects the England his superiors promised, an island of refined vengeance where German soldiers are left to decay in their own filth while their captors smile and sip tea. What he gets instead shatters everything. A British sergeant approaches, middle-aged, unremarkable, carrying a dented thermos and a clipboard that's seen better days. His uniform is clean but worn. No theatrics, no malice in his eyes. Just bureaucratic efficiency tempered with something Muller can't immediately identify. Tea, while we sort the paperwork, the sergeant says, voice flat, almost bored. You've had a long ride, Muller stares at the tin cup thrust into his bound hands. Steam rises into the October air, carrying the bitter smell of overbrewed leaves. The sergeant pours without ceremony, moves down the line, offers the same to every prisoner. No speeches, no conditions, just tea. No one drinks. They wait for the trick. They wait for the cup to be snatched away, for laughter, for the boot to the ribs that confirms what they've been taught. But the trick doesn't come. The sergeant finishes pouring, caps the thermos, walks away. The tea keeps steaming. Reality cracks along its seams. The propaganda had been meticulous. Leaflets showed skeletal prisoners behind wire, hollow-eyed, barely human. British camps, the images promised, were death factories dressed in legal language. Officers repeated it in every briefing. Surrender equals annihilation. The Allies used the Geneva Convention for photographs, then ignore it when the cameras leave. Some men had seen the footage. Allied barbarism documented in grainy black and white, prisoners beaten for sport, bodies stacked like firewood. The narrative was clear, consistent, terrifying. Fight until you can't. Death in battle is mercy compared to what waits in captivity. But here, in a processing tent that smells of canvas and strong disinfectant, the cupboards are organized. The medical officer works methodically, not cruelly. The tea keeps coming, poured again when cups run empty. They're registered by name, not numbers, not livestock, names. A clerk, young, clearly bored with the routine, asks Muller to spell his mother's maiden name for the contact file. Muller hesitates, expecting punishment for the delay for making a British soldier wait. The clerk just nods, writes it down phonetically, moves to the next man. No slap, no rebuke, just data entry. Personal effects are catalogued, not confiscated. Wedding rings placed in small envelopes, marked with names and prisoner numbers. Photographs of wives, children, parents, each one carefully logged, a harmonica, dented and cherished, tagged and stored with the same care as a gold watch. Everything documented, everything retrievable, everything treated as if it matters. In the corner of the processing hall, an older prisoner sits with his boots removed, feet wrapped in clean gauze by a British orderly who works in silence. The prisoner winces. The orderly's hands are gentle but efficient, addressing infection without judgment, without comment, without asking how a German soldier's feet came to rot inside Wehrmacht tissue boots during a retreat that claimed thousands. Muller watches this, watches the care, watches the competence. He was trained to see enemies, trained to see subhumans in Allied uniforms, monsters disguised as civilized men. Instead, he sees an orderly doing his job. Treating wounds because wounds need treating. No ideology, no performance. Just professional medical care extended to an enemy because standards exist even when they're inconvenient. The tea is offered again at the barracks door. Muller drinks this time. It's bitter, overbrewed, poured from a chipped enamel pot that's probably served thousands before him. But it's warm, it's real, and no one's laughing. Britain's POW system wasn't built on sentiment. It was policy, calculated and cold-blooded in its logic. Directives from the War Office were explicit. Priorities listed in order: security, intelligence gathering, diplomatic reciprocity, international reputation, and morality. Morality was on the list, not at the top, but on it. Counted, measured, enforced. The goals were ruthlessly practical. Stable camps reduce escape attempts and internal violence. Cooperative prisoners provide operational intelligence, tactical details, strategic insights that win battles and save Allied lives. Treat POAs well. German camps might reciprocate, might treat captured British soldiers with the same restraint. Civilized nations. The thinking went, don't abandon principle under pressure. They hold the line when holding the line is hardest. Over 400,000 German POs would cycle through British custody by war's end. Red Cross inspections documented conditions quarterly. Caloric intake met or exceeded Geneva minimums. Working prisoners received between 2,800 and 3,000 calories daily. Mortality rates remained extraordinarily low, especially compared to Eastern Front camps where survival was accident, not design. Decency, it turned out, wasn't charity. It was discipline. Restraint encoded as doctrine. And it worked. If you're still reading, hit subscribe. We're building the most grounded World War II archive on YouTube, one forgotten story at a time. Every week, new history that doesn't sanitize, doesn't sensationalize, just documents what happened when principles collided with war. Processing takes 2 hours. Medical examinations are thorough, almost clinical in their attention. Lice check, dental inspection, tuberculosis, screening with x-rays that seem impossibly advanced compared to German field medicine. A German-speaking liaison, a Jew who fled Berlin in 1937 and now wears a British uniform, explains camp rules in flat bureaucratic sentences. No emotion, no lectures about karma, just policy. Work is mandatory. Cooperation is rewarded with better conditions. Escape attempts are punished with solitary confinement. No beatings, no summary courts. The camp commandant is known to say, the barbed wire is the punishment. We don't need to add to it. It's doctrine, not kindness. But the effect is indistinguishable. Muller is assigned to Hut 7, Bed 14. The mattress is thin but clean, straw stuffed into canvas and free of lice. A wool blanket British Army issue lies folded at the foot. Standard equipment, nothing special, but clean, whole, dry. The first meal arrives at noon. Boiled potatoes, tinned meat that tastes vaguely of beef, bread with margarine, wheat coffee that's more roasted grain than anything resembling actual coffee. It's not luxury, it's not home cooking, but it's enough, sufficient, real. Some men eat slowly, testing every bite as if poison might hide in potatoes. Others eat in silence, tears tracking down faces they turn toward walls so no one witnesses their breaking. Pride dies hard. Gratitude feels like betrayal when you've been taught that gratitude to an enemy is treason. No one speaks about the tea, but everyone remembers it. That first cup, that impossible kindness that shouldn't exist but did. By November, Muller is part of a 60-man work detail assigned to a dairy farm in Somerset, rolling green hills that look nothing like the shattered moonscape of Normandy. The work is real. Mucking stalls, repairing fences that keep cattle from wandering into neighboring fields, hauling hay bales during autumn harvest when the weather turns, and every hour matters. Hours are long, 6 to 8 daily, sometimes more during harvest. But within Geneva Convention limits, supervision is light. The farmer, a man named Dalton, speaks little and expects competence. Break it, fix it, slack off, you're back to camp. No threats, no theatrics, just standards. Muller finds himself taking pride in the work. The fences he mends stay mended. The gates he rehangs don't sag come winter. There's satisfaction in competence, in work done right, because right matters even when no one's watching. Extra rations come on heavy work days. An additional slice of bread, sometimes cheese, honest work for honest treatment. It's a contract Muller never expected to sign. But here he is, signing it in sweat and calluses and fences that stand straight. Dalton's wife leaves tea on the fence post most mornings. Not friendship, just efficiency. Keeps the men from dragging before lunch, but after 3 weeks, she adds biscuits. After 2 months, Muller and 2 others are invited to Sunday dinner in the kitchen, while Dalton listens to BBC reports about Allied advances through France, through Belgium, into Germany itself. No guards, no locks, just the unspoken deal. You're trusted until you're not. Muller never considers running. Where would he go? Back to a war already lost. Back to a country being crushed between Allied hammers. He fixes the tractor instead when it dies in the North Field. Dalton watches arms folded, evaluating, then hands him the toolbox the next time it stalls. Trust, it turns out, can be earned in grease and bent metal. January 1945, Muller catches pneumonia. The camp hospital is clean, heated, staffed by a British doctor and 2 nurses who treat him exactly as they treat the guards. Antibiotics, warm compresses, soup delivered twice daily. The doctor, nearing 60, too old for frontline service, checks Muller's lungs with a stethoscope and makes notes in a ledger that records every prisoner's health with the same bureaucratic care as a teacher's attendance book. No speeches about common humanity, no sermons about healing wounds war creates, just medicine. When Muller thanks him, voice hoarse from coughing, the doctor shrugs. You're a patient, I'm a physician, that's the job. Muller returns to the farm 2 weeks later, 5 pounds heavier, carrying respect he can't quite name. It sits in his chest like a stone, heavy and solid and undeniable. Christmas Eve, 1944. Organizes a service. Attendance optional, so does most of Hut 7. The chaplain reads from Luke. A German prisoner plays accordion. Someone produces a harmonica. Silent Night is sung in 2 languages, the harmony clumsy but earnest, English and German words weaving together in a tent heated by coal stoves and filled with men who 6 months ago were killing each other. Afterward, guards distribute cigarettes and extra tea. No propaganda, no speeches about universal brotherhood. Just cigarettes, biscuits, and a moment where the war feels smaller than the room. One guard, young barely 20, stands at the back and applauds softly when the music ends. Muller notices, files it away, adds it to the growing list of things that don't fit the narrative he was taught. Prisoners are allowed to write home once monthly. Letters are censored but lightly. Muller writes to his mother in careful, neutral sentences. I am well, the work is fair. We are treated according to law. Do not believe what you hear about England. It is not what they told us. His letter reaches her in March 1945 through Red Cross channels. She shares it with neighbors. The propaganda minister's promises begin to crack one envelope at a time. By summer, German civilians are writing back. If you are alive and fed, perhaps surrender is not the end we feared. Information travels both ways. Seeds are planted in soil, made fertile by honesty. The camp library holds 400 books, donated secondhand, multilingual. Muller borrows an English grammar primer, then a Dickens novel he reads slowly, dictionary in hand, puzzling through sentences until meaning emerges. Some prisoners organize a chess club, others form a choir. One man, an engineer, before the war, teaches mechanical drawing in evenings. Guards occasionally attend, curious. These are small freedoms, but they signal something larger. You are still human. You still have agency. The barbed wire remains. The guards remained. But within the wire, there's room to grow. February 1945. A guard loses his temper during a work detail and shoves a prisoner who drops a crate. The guard is reprimanded the same day, removed from duty for a week. The camp commandant makes the announcement at evening roll call. Standards apply to all of us. No elaboration, no apology tour, just accountability. Muller files the moment away. In his own army, such an incident would be ignored, or the prisoner would be punished for clumsiness. Here, the system bends toward fairness. Not perfectly, not always, but consistently. Drop a comment below. What surprised you most about this story? We read every one. By spring 1945, restrictions have loosened. Work details no longer require armed escorts. Muller and others walk unguarded to the farm each morning. A 2-mile trek through fields still wet with dew, past hedgerows where birds are nesting, under skies that haven't seen German bombers in months. Dalton hands him the tractor keys one morning without comment. Plow the north field. I'll check it this afternoon. No supervision, no test, just a job. Muller plows straight rows, checks the fuel, parks the tractor in the barn. When Dalton inspects the work, he nods once. Good, that's all. But Muller feels something shift inside him, something close to pride, close to purpose. During harvest, several prisoners volunteer extra hours, not for rewards, just because the work matters and leaving it unfinished feels wrong. Competence earns respect. Respect earns trust. Trust becomes the foundation for something neither side expected: mutual regard. Muller sits on his bunk one evening in April, holding the chipped enamel cup that's become his personal mug. The war is ending. Everyone knows it. Germany is collapsing. The propaganda machine lied about everything. The wonder weapons, the inevitable victory, the subhuman enemies. If they lied about the British starving prisoners, what else was false? Years later, decades later, he'll tell an interviewer, voice quiet but steady, "I went into that camp expecting to die. I came out questioning everything I'd been taught, not because someone preached to me, because I was treated like a man." That was the pivot, not a lecture, not a leaflet, just consistency, restraint. The steady application of civilized standards, even when no one would blame you for abandoning them. It planted a seed, and seeds, given time and care, grow into something that can't be uprooted. The war in Europe ends in May 1945. Repatriation begins. Slowly, logistics, vetting, transportation. Many POAs aren't sent home until 1946, or 1947. Some volunteer to stay temporarily, continuing farm and reconstruction work while Germany rebuilds from rubble. Some never leave, finding lives in the country that captured them. Muller returns to Germany in late 1946. He finds his mother alive, his town in ruins, his country trying to remember what it was before the madness consumed everything. He keeps in touch with Dalton for 30 years. Christmas cards, brief letters, updates about harvests and grandchildren, and the weather in Somerset versus Bavaria. He never forgets the tea or the blanket. Or the moment a British sergeant handed him a cup and said, "You've had a long ride." Those 6 words contained more humanity than for years of propaganda, more truth than 1,000 rallies, more power than any ideology. Civilization is not the absence of conflict. It's what you do when conflict gives you permission to abandon principle. Britain didn't treat German POWs well because Germans deserved it. They did it because they deserved to remain who they were. Victory without vengeance, order without cruelty. Strength measured not by the pain you inflict, but by the restraint you maintain when no one would blame you for inflicting it. Muller carried that lesson home in 1946, wrapped in a wool blanket and the memory of bitter tea. The barbed wire came down, the camps closed. The war became history, but the cup remained, the lesson remained, the proof that humanity survives when we refuse to let circumstances destroy it. That's the story propaganda can't touch. That's the truth that outlasts empires. Would you like me to adjust the pacing of any particular section or strengthen specific moments further?